Hi guys, welcome to Open the Vaults. I am Manny Chima, who you're all here to see, of course.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Joking.
Let's not be making assumptions, my man.
I'm here with Adam,
Yo,
the
what's
Bear
up,
Trotsky.
guys? It's been a while, I missed you all.
Yeah, so Ad's not been on for a while, so I thought, get my main boy on here again,
Yeah,
and we can
yeah.
talk about what's going on.
I'm not enough of a main boy to get my own name, though. I can see that changing live, mate. I can see it changing. That's right.
I'm here with Trotsky, guys.
Yeah, you are.
Today's topic is handling unsporting behaviour.
Yeah.
We thought this is a growing issue, and it's only getting bigger, isn't it? Which is it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it, bro? Because I get baffled by the amount of people that are just doing this on a regular basis. I think it's only growing. I don't see it getting any less.
I think
getting
it's
more and more.
growing because the scene is growing. Like England and the UK as a whole, like we're getting a lot more ITC tournaments. There's a lot more following. Like social media's far more involved now. Tournament organizers are like posting things up. I've heard rumors that tournament organizers have their own Facebook group as well, so they often discuss things. So I think it's just where the scene itself is getting bigger, and that behavior as a consequence is becoming less and less acceptable. Well, not acceptable, but it's becoming more exposed. So now we're all like squinting our eyes at each other and like, oh, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think more and more people are starting to realize that they are being sort of like victims of unsporting behavior. I think there's loads of people out there that didn't normally think they were playing against somebody who was being unsporting, but since they've watched, I don't know, like live streams, podcasts where people have been talking about unsporting behavior.
Streams are a big thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Or they've watched a stream where they've seen people being unsporting. Then maybe they've started realizing, actually, I'm playing someone who's not being very sporting with me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, I think that's growing quite a lot as well. We've got a lot more of that going on, and I don't like it. I think there's no need for it in the game. That's not the way the game is meant to be played, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be sporting to your opponent. There's no need for it. You should.
But that's why we're talking today about how do you go about handling it.
Yes.
It is a thing. It can happen, and I hope for all of you guys it doesn't, but it might. So we want you guys to just be prepared, because there's different things that I think need to be spoken about, and how, in my opinion, you should react, and what you should do if you feel that you yourself may be becoming a little bit unsportsmanlike or a little bit eggy in a game.
Yeah, because I feel like it's big, right? We need to all talk about it, because you have games where you start to feel frustrated, and it could be at your dice rolls or something. It could
be at Manny's dice rolls or something, He could pass 29 out of 31 free-up invent saves and like kill a knight almost, and it's one of those things. Yeah.
Oh God, I remember.
I'm still wounded, man. I'm still hurt.
No, don't hate me.
I don't hate you. I still love you.
No, that's brilliant. But it's just things like that. Like, I think people need to realize that they can become quite unsporting, like when they, like, for example, you roll 15 dice and you end up with like 10 ones and twos. It happens.
It does.
It's very unlucky that that's happened, but it happens. But you see a couple of people they are where their chins drop. But I think that's just a player in themselves. They're just like, oh man, that shouldn't have happened to me. But then they lift the chin, they carry on, and that's what you want from the game. That's what you want from a good player. However, you do have the occasional player that goes, oh my God, that's absolutely ridiculous. And then they just go crazy at the table. And I think that for your opponent becomes very uncomfortable as well. I mean,
man.
I've had it when I've rolled really unlucky. I've rolled some saves and they've not gone to plan. And I've just been like, oh man, that sucks. That sucks. But then I carry on with the game. Like, I take a minute to acknowledge the fact that it's not great. I'm like, oh man, that totally sucks. That shouldn't have happened. That sucks. But then after that, I just carry on with the game. And I think that there are players out there that get a little carried away maybe when they roll slightly unlucky, or their opponent rolls slightly lucky, and they can't shake it.
I do apologise, my man, but someone is at my door knocking. So I will just be 2 moments.
Yeah,
I am
of
very
course.
sorry for having to leave at this point. I will be back as soon as I can, gents, but my dog
No
will kick
problem.
off,
Continue,
and I don't want that.
continue. But yeah, guys. So while we've lost Ad there, I'm just going to carry on with that a little bit, and I think it's very important for people to realize that they can make their opponent feel uncomfortable, and it's not that's not the biggest unsportsmanship that there is. You know what I mean? That's not the most unsporting behavior, but I just feel like make your opponent making your opponent uncomfortable and not feel great about the game because someone's rolled slightly lucky or someone's rolled slightly unlucky is not that's not done. I feel like that is unsporting. Not obviously not that's not major unsporting, but I think it's still unsporting. So I think we all could handle that a bit better by just tuning into the situation and just taking it calmly. You know what I mean? I was just talking about unsporting behavior. I was just thinking that making your opponent feel uncomfortable with a game because
Yeah.
because somebody's rolled unlucky or you rolled unlucky or your opponent's rolled very lucky. I just think that is unsporting. I don't think it's major unsporting. It's not the biggest unsporting thing that you can do in Warhammer, but it is still an unsporting thing to do. Make your opponent feel bad and things like that, or uncomfortable with the game. I think we can all handle ourselves slightly better to make ourselves slightly better sportsmen, I think.
So I've known a couple of games where I myself have had to grip myself and think about what my actions were doing,
Yes.
because I was starting to be one of those things that we don't want to say the word of, but I wasn't being pleasant.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example from my past. I was at Bristol Vanguard. At the time, it was a big event. It was 120 players. It was a singles event, and I was playing for the win.
Okay.
And this guy, this is during 7th edition. I flew up with 3 Flying Demon Princes against a Seer Council. I had turn 1, he had no bus, he misdeployed. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get you, boy. And then he did a Manny, and he passed loads of saves. I think he failed less than you. I think he only failed like 2. I had like 11
wow.
shots, 12 shots. Like, I had so many shots, it was nuts. And I was like, yeah. And then I didn't kill anything. I was like, And then he also had a Thunderstar with it as well. And again, he passed a load of saves from psychic powers and feeling their pains and stuff. I was like, you know what? It's a bit dodgy. And I asked to check his dice.
Okay.
And this led to a really awkward game. It was my first turn. I was like, mate, that's not real. There's no way this just happened to me. Because I'm well overextended. I didn't really kill anything. I'm probably going to lose because my entire first turn fluffed. Or because your dice were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like, it was absolutely insane. And yeah, it kind of went downhill from there. And we kind of bickered over everything. And it was because I think I was also playing for the win. Like, I felt a little bit more tension, everything else, like, it felt like that much more important. Like, I knew table 2, one of the players was doing really well, so I had to win, and I got myself into that mentality. And then, like, during turn 2 or something, I was like, you know what, I'm being a douche, I'm really sorry. And I looked at him in the eye, I was like, I'm really sorry, I've been a bit of a douche, I know we've not got on, but you know what, let's put it behind us, let's have a good game. So I actually had to grip myself in the middle of my game because I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't.
But that's the thing. That's a key example of somebody turning it round and realizing that themselves need to be a bit more being a bit more sporting than they are being. So it's really good, bro, because you picked yourself up after that, and I bet you had a good game.
No, not so much. No. Yeah, he later on triggered me, but that's a completely different story.
Okay,
but I know that I played better when I let it go.
Yes.
And my mentality, I didn't let my opponent bother me anymore. I knew that I was being a better sport for what I was doing.
No, yeah, that's huge. That's really good, bro. It's really good.
And after you, mate.
Yeah, man. Like, I think now we should start to talk about slightly more unsporting behavior. So, guys, there are, there's like unsporting behavior at the low level, like we've just talked about. Getting annoyed at somebody's dice rolls and things like that. And
your dice rolls, your opponent's dice rolls, yeah.
Yes, exactly. But then there is major unsporting behavior. Do you know, like big
yellow card worthy?
Yeah, yellow card worthy. Here we go. So, slow playing. I think slow playing is very
It's
important.
big right
Very,
now
very
as
important.
well.
It's very big right now.
Yeah,
There's a lot of it that happens, and
yeah,
I don't like slow playing. And
no. And
uh,
this is from a Horde player. Like, I'm not sure how much everyone watches Manny Chima and how his Warhammer career spanned out, but Manny has played Poxwalkers where he's had like almost 200 models on the table. He's
yes,
played Imperial Suit where you're looking at like 120 models on the table, you know. And his deployment, his movement, he has it down. And out of all the armies are most likely to slow play you, it is a Horde because they are naturally quite slow. And there are a lot of players that use that army on purpose so that they can gain a benefit from it because they
yes,
know they will only get to
yeah,
turn
yeah.
3, turn. You know, I've seen games like end at turn 2 after 3 hours, and you're like, "What happened?" And you're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, we had an hour for
it's very
deployment."
disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Bobby Hall says Dice is 40k. Lol. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, man.
True. Dice is 40k, so there's
Yeah,
no need to get like super annoyed because somebody's rolled some dice. It's it's an element of the game. Um, but yeah, Michael Bolton, I get annoyed with my dice rolls. Am
no.
I the only one here?
Michael's massively reminded me of you mentioned two people earlier, and I was like, "This is definitely Ash, and this is definitely Stephen Fox." You're
Ash.
like, they hate their own dice. It's like
Yeah,
I just roll
yeah.
once, but you know what? They pick
Ash.
their heads up.
Ash does
Like,
it amazingly.
yeah,
Ash is like, oh, I need to make a 3d6
yeah,
charge. Triple one. Yeah, of course, that was gonna
yeah.
happen.
He gives into it. He's like, "Yeah, that's my life. I'm used to that."
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just like, yeah, that's my life. That's how
yeah.
my life goes. That's fine. I love Ash. Absolutely love Ash.
Great guy.
But
Yeah,
no, yeah. Timing, guys. Timing is very, very important. Slow playing is a big thing. And I mean, yeah, like Ad said, I am a massive fan of hordes. I play a lot of horde armies. Right now, I'm using Imperium, which has got over 100 guardsmen, plus blood angels and all other sorts of characters. And I have a lot of models in my army. I played the Flock Star at the start of eighth with
Oh, I'd forgotten about
yeah,
that.
with like
Yeah,
150 bases of birds, plus
yeah,
all my characters on top of that. And then, just loads of things like that. I've played the Poxwalkers, as I'd said. I had 220 cultists in the Poxwalker army. And as my cultists were dying, I was generating zombies. So I didn't really go below 200 models for a large portion of the game. And I pretty much always, with my opponent, was able to roll for a turn 6 to see if the game continued. So if someone like me with a 300 model Poxwalker army, which interacts in the movement phase in a massive way,
yeah,
interacts in the psychic phase in a massive way because I have to get all my buffs and powers off, interacts in
yeah.
the shooting phase in a massive way because you've got 220 cultists to shoot. When you've got buffs like Prescience, Veterans,
And
Long War,
running.
and Double Fire, that takes a long time because you want to fire all those shots.
Mhm.
And then interacts in the combat phase in a huge way because the Poxwalkers are mental in combat, as well as all my characters. If I've got a 300 model army that can interact in absolutely every single phase, and I can roll for a turn 6, there is no excuse people can have for not getting there. I mean,
Yeah,
I get to quite a lot recently though. I've only been reaching turn 4 and turn 5, but I've been looking at my chess clock, and we've timed out on turn 4, turn 5, but I've been looking at my chess clock, and there are still like 25 to 20 to 30 minutes left on my side of the chess clock, but my opponent doesn't have any left. Of course, I let my opponent run over onto my time on the chess clock because I
you're a nice
said at the
guy.
start of the game, mate, this is purely for my use, so I can see where because obviously I'm practicing for ETC too. So I'm like, this is purely for my use. I want to see that I can get my game done in the allotted time, but my opponent runs out of time. And sometimes if I've spoken to them about it and I'm like, mate, do you mind using a chess clock? I want to play the chess clock rules, and they say no, then that's fine. I will chess clock it. And if their time hits 0, and I think this comes down to sporting behavior as well. If their time hits 0 and I can see that they have not
Tried.
to get through their turns,
Oh,
they've been very bad with their timing, then I'll be like, mate, the rest of the 20 minutes should be mine as per the rules. However, if I can see that they've really tried,
Yeah.
they're not slow playing, they're getting through their movement, their psychic, their shooting, their combat as well as they can do, and it's just because they have a lot of dice to roll and things like that, then I will let them happily play on my time once their timer runs out, because at that point I know that I've not slow played. They have tried their best. Okay,
Yeah.
we've only got to turn 4 and we've got 20 minutes left, so why not have a 10-minute each turn 5? I think that's very important. But as you say, Ad, there are players out there who do take these armies like hordes. I mean, I love the horde. I take the horde because I love it. So
Yeah.
I know it's on me to get my turns done in my time.
Player
But there are
responsibility.
players out there, yes, that take these armies to purposely play them slowly, because these sort of armies in the game right now benefit if the game doesn't go on very long, because they hold pretty much every objective on the board early game. I mean, if they can kill you, then they keep it, you know,
Yeah.
they keep it even longer. If you can damage your opponent for long enough, then your horde can hold those objectives for even longer. But what I'm saying is they're pretty much guaranteed to hold them early on.
Yeah. Armies, I think we should mention a couple of armies that are really good at this. Poxwalkers, perhaps. Like, you can have a bunch of psychic powers, there's a lot of saves, there's a lot of interaction that you can possibly have. If you just have a Poxwalker horde, like early game, you will hold the board against most armies. And then if you're playing an army like Tau, let's say Tau, there's a lot of shots coming back at you, so there is a lot of dice involved. So, thinking about, should I use Warp Surge on this unit? Should I do this? That sort of adds to the time. Orcs are another big one as well, because again, it's a high model count as well. It's a lot of dice that could potentially be rolled, because a lot of the time we saw looters previously, and we were like, cool, so I rolled 3, so that's 45 shots, and I'm going to shoot them twice, and then I re-roll ones.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I get extra shots. Yeah, these little things, they can add up, and some players do use that to their advantage.
Yes, they do.
So
Yes, they do. They do it very cleverly as well, which is not
you may not even notice. Yeah, you may not even notice until you look up and go, "I've got half an hour left."
Oh my god!
Yeah, yes, mate.
Ash has just joined.
Ash has just joined. Ash, we were talking about you, bro.
Ash, what's up, bro? Tom Layton says, "Hi, Manny. Hi, Tom. How you doing, bro? Love you." Next time we play, the player with the most time left on their chess clock at the end of the game wins 20-0. Deal?
Mate, next time you're seeing him as ETC, he's playing for Wales.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
agree to this. Do not agree.
No deal, Tom. No, Tom's been practicing with his chess clock a lot recently. I watched him at Northern Warlords playing with that clock, and he is on point right now. Tom, with his Orc army and that chess clock, is on point. So that's awesome. I think that's very good. It's good to see players with hordes like that, pushing through their turns because they know they can with their chess clock. And that's the thing. If someone like Tom, who's got a very large army with lots of smasher guns and all of that kind of stuff, can get through all of his turns, guys, you could do it, man. You know what I mean? It just proves that players can do it. It's their own responsibility. So yeah, well done on you, Tom. That's absolutely awesome. But I will make you a different deal. So whoever has the most time left on their clock at the end of the game, bro, playing a proper game, playing a proper full game. None of us can cut corners. Whoever has the most time left on their clock gets a beer from the other guy.
I reckon you should stream that game. I reckon we should invite Tom Layton really down to Glasshammer Gaming, and you should have that game live so that people can see how the bet goes.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Tom, let me know when you're free, bro. Let me know when you're free. Dan's come on.
Dan.
It doesn't have to be Horde. I had to push every game with 5 repulsors to get to turn 6. Yeah, see, that's another thing as well. So it's a very interesting thing that Dan's pushed on there, actually.
And it is still relative to slow playing, just for clarity.
It's so many dice.
Yeah,
Someone
exactly.
with a repulsor is firing like 50 shots a turn from so many different guns.
Full rerolls.
12 shots from an heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. 6 shots from an onslaught Gatling cannon. There can be 6 shots from a twin heavy bolter. There can be 2 shots from a twin las cannon. There can be 12 shots from storm bolters. 2d6 shots from fragstorm grenade launchers. 2 shots from crackstorm grenade launchers. Guys, that's a bucket ton of shots. But then you also have to... I mean, one thing that Dan's done, which is really good, and I find it, very, very good to help your game and the speed of your game as well, is he's made... I I think it's a little poker chip, and it's got the name of each gun on it. So what he does is he puts those 7 chips next to a repulsor, and then as he fires a weapon, he takes a chip off. As he fires the next weapon, he takes another chip off. And I think overall that saves a lot of time in the game, because how many times if you're firing a tank with like 7 guns on it, you could be 5 guns in, and you go to fire your next 2 guns, and your opponent says, "You've already fired them 2."
Mate, I do that with 4 knights. But do I remember firing my top hatch? Yeah, I did. All right, cool. Yeah, I shot that thing over there, didn't I? Yeah, nice. Oh, don't forget the flamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very important to mention those dice. Yeah, because it's not just horde armies. It is things that have the ability to reroll to hits, reroll to wounds. But I like the point that you highlighted about the poker chips, because I know that I myself almost tune out when someone rolls a million dice at me as well. It's dude, just tell me how many saves I need to make. Like, he could have fired his main gun twice at me, and at some point you're like, "Didn't you already shoot that repulsor?" You're like, "No, mate, I haven't shot that one." It's like,
exactly. And it's like, oh my god, what's going on? You know,
so,
I think
I like
had an
that you
extra
can
repulsor
visually
here.
see that. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
Now, I think we should also highlight Michael Bolton's point as well that he writ further up. I think we'll come on to it after we're talking about slow playing, but I just wanted to make sure that Michael knows that we have acknowledged it. So he writ, "I don't know the rules for many armies. My opponent can often tell me anything and I'll believe them. I think unscrupulous players often use the complexity of the game to gain their advantage." We will come on to that, as it is a very important point.
I think maybe we should go on to that now.
We'll discuss that now. Fair enough.
I mean, we've. I think that's enough about slow, isn't it? Like, you know, you need to watch out for players that are purposely moving slowly with big horde armies, but also players that, you know, come to the game with 5 repulsors, with Gilliman, with full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound, with a bucket ton of shots and that many guns per vehicle. You need to watch out for them guys as well, because they can take advantage. And, you know, those are the things you need to watch out for with slow play. But yeah, I mean, now we come
not
on to,
knowing the rules for
people with rules. Yes, not knowing the rules or playing the rules wrong, even though you know. That's huge. I think that is.
We should add clarity. I mean, sometimes it can be a genuine error. The guy might think, the gun's strength 7 when it's actually strength 6.
Oh no, yes, of course.
That's little things like that.
That's why I said playing it wrong when knowing the rules.
Yes.
Because I mean, we've done that on a battle report before. We fought twice with a dreadnought at the end of the phase, a Libby Dread, but he can only fight. He can only fight when he dies. He can only fight for the second time when he dies.
Because it's in infantry, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So he can only fight when he dies, because that's just any character. He can't fight again at the end of the phase because that's just infantry. And I didn't know that, and we used it, but we noticed while we were editing the battle report before it went live. So we put a massive banner up in the middle of the video saying it was at this point that we realized a dreadnought cannot fight again at the end of the phase. So, you know, I mean, genuine mistakes that you own up to, that is fine. But I think, you seeing what Dan is saying in the chat?
Nope.
Oh my God, Dan! What are you doing?
We are not naming and shaming anyone.
No.
Please excuse Dan. He's been drinking.
No. Yes, we are not. We're not doing this.
No.
We are not doing this, Dan. That's very mean.
You've been moderated on. All right. Sit down, relax, enjoy it.
I think I've done this right. I don't know whether it's working or not.
What's that?
But I've tried to hide one of his comments.
I've already deleted it, bro. Don't worry.
Oh, you already deleted it?
Yeah, I've already deleted it.
Oh my God, Dan! What are you doing? Well, actually, guys. Excuse Dan. He's been drinking since like 11 a.m. Yeah. 11 a.m. Proper.
Yeah. He did raise a fair point with his first comment. Fight twice with 1 CP. I think stratagems are probably the most misused available, and a lot of the time it can be a player abusing it, or it can be a player not. Like, for example, Imperial Knights. Like, if you're playing someone who doesn't really play that often, it's fairly easy going with things, you could probably get away with using a stratagem out of the Imperial Knight Codex, which might cost a CP less, like where it's been FAQ'd instead, and you have the written copy. You know what, I'm going to fire my missile at 2 CP, or I'm going to get a knight back up for 2 CP, and in fact it costs 3 CP to do.
Yes. Things.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's huge. I think having the most recent version of any of your stratagems to hand is definitely a big thing. but also just like just stratagems in general. I mean, there aren't many stratagems in the game right now that are worth 3 CP that you know that you have to use 3 CP for.
Mhm.
But there are some, and I so some things are quite big. I mean, I think it was a general error. So I was playing with my Imperial soup, and I have 3 Custody shield captains in my army, and I played against a player with a Custody army. So you know, half of it was Imperium, and the other half was 3 units of 3 bikers from Custodes, 3 units of 3 Virtus Praetors, and 1 shield captain on a bike. And I charged in because he only had 2 command points left. I charged in with a smash captain into a unit of 3 bikes,
Yeah, smooth.
and then he tried to use 2 command points to countercharge me. His last 2, there we go, exactly.
Yeah.
As I just said, swooping dive, nail on the head there, mate. And my opponent tried to use swooping dive with his last 2 command points, and I truly believe because he kept looking at his command points and he kept going, okay, so I've got 2 left. Okay, so I've got 2 left. I've got to make sure that I have 2 left. And I thought it was to fight again when one of his characters died. I genuinely thought that's what it was for. But he was trying to swooping dive with it, and I was like, oh, mate, I was like, that's actually 3 command points, not 2. And he was like, no way.
No way.
It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it is, bro. And he was like, oh, no, no way. And he looked at his book and he was like, I've been saving 2 command points for that for a whole turn so I could use it. And, you know, that's a genuine...
That's a genuine one,
That's
yeah.
a genuine error. But there are people out there who use stooping dive on a regular basis who will try to use it for 2 CP. And it's, you know, it's the differentiation between those players.
Yeah.
It's quite big. And I mean, one big tell, guys, and I can tell you right now, because this has happened with me and many, many players before. And, you know, because they've moved on, I kind of let it go. But this is the kind of thing that you have to be aware of, guys. So I have had, the fight twice stratagem.
Yeah.
So
Often confused with the fight when you die, but yeah.
yes. So the fight when you die stratagem is worth 2 command points, but the fighting again for Imperium armies is normally 3 command points. Yes, at the end of the phase. So I have had on 2 separate occasions, I've had somebody try to use the fight twice with me with an Imperium unit, and I've been like, oh mate, that is 3 command points, and he's been like, oh really? Is it? And I'm like, yeah. And he's been like, no, it's not. And I've been like, yeah, mate, genuinely, it is. So then they've got their book out and they've looked at it and they've seen that it's 3 command points and they've gone, oh mate, I'm really sorry. You're right. It is 3 command points. And at that point, I can tell it's a genuine mistake. But in the space of, I think actually maybe at that very same tournament, I've had somebody do the same thing to me and go, okay, I'm going to fight twice for 2 command points. And I've been like, oh mate, that's 3 command points. And straight away he's been like, oh yeah, it's 3 command points. And at that sitting there like, well,
did you know?
It was 3 command points, and you tried to use it for 2, and it's just frustrating because it's not like my opponent didn't have 3 command points left. It's because he wanted to use more later on in the game, and I think that's very shady. You know, it's those kind of things, guys, that you need to watch out for, and those kind of tells will give it away. It will give away when somebody is doing something like that to you. I hugely believe this. I mean, I could see the genuine sincerity from my first opponent, and then just the okay.
Oh yeah,
I'll move on. That's fine because you're right. I think that's huge.
Yeah, it is. And now that we've discussed how people do it, it's also really important that if you accidentally do it, come clean. You know.
Yes.
If you've got a command point, if you've realised something, and you're still able to go back to that point where if it did matter, you know, say it. Or if you realise after a game, go back to your opponent and say, look, dude, I'm really sorry. This has happened. And if it's massive, you know, talk about it.
Yeah,
don't be shy away.
That's how you avoid. That's how you avoid all these conflicts that happen where people
or reputations.
Bad reputation, yes.
Exactly that, yeah. And I think it's really important now that we discuss what to do when it comes up, and you think the person's doing it on purpose. How should you react?
Yes,
You
exactly.
know?
Oh, Bobby Hall says, I think sometimes at events people are tired. Lol. No, no, I totally
Dude,
agree
game
with that.
3 last day. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
totally
every
agree
time.
with that. Yeah, sometimes at tournaments people are tired, but then
Yeah,
when people do it on like a Sunday morning when they're fresh and it's game four because they know that they've got a chance of playing for the podium,
yeah,
a podium finish if they're going into game five. If it happens then like sometimes players are. I mean, there are players that are tired. I agree
yeah,
with that. But
definitely.
then there are players who know what they're doing, and that's the frustrating thing. Tom Layton, have you listened to the latest Flying Monkey podcast? It's pertinent to this podcast. Interview with Justin Lewis. Oh no,
Uh,
I haven't.
can't say
Maybe
I have.
that's one to
I think it
listen
got
to.
posted up on competitive 40k.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure I've read Flying Monkey podcast at least once today. I'm sure it's not a term that we often hear, so yeah, it definitely rings some bells to me. But yeah, man, we'll check it out. But damn it, Dan. God damn it. Stop it.
Lid Chris. What is he doing?
Stop it. I
What is
can't
he
keep
doing?
moderating you like this, man. No, it's fresh on Sunday. Give it a check. Also, I
Oh.
wouldn't know because I'm pretty certain I've left that cesspit. Yeah. Um, While they're saying, actually, I think we should talk about social media after we finish this conversation. But yeah, if you think someone is doing it towards you, start asking them to, dude, do you mind if I just check the book? Like, I can't remember what it is. Would you mind showing me?
Yes, I
You
think
know?
that is a big thing. I think people
And
need
challenge it
to,
head.
yes, yes,
Don't wait till the end of the game. Don't go and talk to the ref after the end of the game. Don't go and bitch your friends. Don't go on social media and be like, he did this. Do confront it. It is a player's
yes.
responsibility to also bring up another player.
Yes. If you think something doesn't sound right,
Mhm.
you should ask somebody. Just
Yeah,
ask your opponent, are you sure? You know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
Yeah,
are you sure that's only that many CPs? Can we check it? I think
Mhm.
just things like that. I mean, if you've also another thing that I wanted to say is in your last point that you said, Trotter, about the if you realize that you've made a mistake with sort of command points, if you've used one too less than you should have or something like that. I
Mhm.
mean, say you've got like 7 command points and you've used 2 to fight again at the end of the phase.
Yeah,
And you've realized, oh, actually that was meant to be 3. Just knock yourself down another command point and let your
yeah,
opponent know, oh, I'm really sorry, mate. Fighting again was actually 1 extra CP. I'll just
Mhm.
knock myself down 1.
Yeah,
I think at that point your opponent will respect you a lot as well for saying that and owning up to it.
yeah.
I think it takes a bit of
Courage.
it takes a bit of courage to
Yeah,
to own up like, oh mate, I've misplayed that, I'm sorry, and then take the CP off. Just something like that. I think that it's very very important. But yeah, I think if somebody is doing it to you, you have to be okay. My way is firm but fair. I'm always firm but
yeah,
fair. If somebody's done something and I know that I can see that they're apologizing and it is a mistake, I go, you know what, it's okay, mate, that's fine. We'll just reverse it. But if somebody is blatantly doing it to you guys, and like if it's something like, for example, if you go to an event, somebody has been told that fight twice is 3 command points, and they've been told this in round 1, and you are playing them in round 2, and they do the same thing to you, but you are aware that they've already been told this in round 1. If
this
they
is
do
a
the same thing to
very
you,
close personal experience that you had,
yeah,
Manny.
yeah,
Make sure not to name
this
and
is
shame. Yeah.
no, I won't, man, I won't.
Okay.
This is very close to an
Yeah.
experience I've had where I've played somebody in round 1, and I have clearly told them this is not how you play this. This is how you play this,
Or they got told by the
and the
judge as well.
TO
Yeah.
has also come over and said the same thing to my opponent. Yes, he's right. This is how you need to play this rule. Then in the next game, he played the same rule the wrong way again against his opponent. And his opponent had been speaking to me over lunch, so his opponent also knew that he'd already been told this is not the way to play it. And
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that you need to watch out for, guys. And do not be
Yes.
scared to call somebody out. Just say to somebody, mate, I don't think that's the way it's meant to be played. I think the person who spoke to me over lunch handled the situation really well. They didn't go, "Oh, you've already been told that in game 1. Why are you
Yeah.
doing it again?" He didn't handle it like that at all. It was like
Yeah.
bro, I don't actually think that you meant to play that way. I think you meant
Yeah.
to play it this way. And then, he's handled it very well. And if at that point your opponent disagrees, you
Yeah.
go, okay, well, at that
Let's
point,
get that
you
rules.
give them a chance. But then at that point, if he doesn't back off, that's when you say, I'm pretty sure you've already been warned about this.
Yeah.
I think
Great mentality
don't be
though, Manny.
mean.
Be polite. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Be polite. I think
Yeah.
if you just polite,
Yeah.
I think things are fine. I think
The worst thing that's gonna happen, like one of the worst situations I saw, is like, yo, let's go outside. I'm like, mate, it's a game of toy soldiers. Like, relax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
there's no need to ruin your weekend over such a small thing in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like, the more you give to it, like the more it's a big deal when it's not.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not playing for the win. That's what bothers me when people do this, and it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't even matter.
I might be top 20 instead. It's like, mate, you're top 20. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the bit where I'm like, no, this is too much for me now. But yeah, no. I think one point made by Michael Bolton and Bobby Halls here can be linked together. So Michael Bolton has said, if you do challenge your opponent, the game slows down. It's amazing how long simply looking up rules takes. I agree with that. Looking up rules can take a while. And Bobby Hall says, fully agree. I personally give people benefit of the doubt, but would advocate a broad knowledge of all armies. And this is very important. I agree with Michael. Looking up rules on the spot can take a while, which is why it should only be done on rules that you are not sure about.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also agree the broad knowledge of all armies. I think you should, if you're going to a tournament, you should try to look at all of the most common armies out there and what they do. The stratagems, the most used stratagems of common armies. I think things like that you should use.
Watch videos. Yeah,
exactly. Watch your videos, and then
big one for me was Tau. I was like, I don't get how you're getting so many shots and what you're doing. And then I watched it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Because it can almost feel like a player's cheating when their army just does stuff that you're not prepared for. It's got that shock factor, and you're like, what? There's no way that's right. And then it's like, yeah, it's right.
Oh man, Ad, is this you replying as Glasshammer Gaming to Dan?
Yes, it is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Dan, you're gonna get banned in a minute, mate. I'm gonna kick you out of the page.
Mate, he's already been banned off Reddit. He's been banned off other places.
What's he doing?
Exactly. He's just like poking people. He's like, come on, how far can I push this?
He's about to get banned from our own page here.
That's it.
You give me no option, Dan. Stop it. Stop it.
You know what? I can imagine him sitting in his chair watching this, just giggling to himself as well as this is happening with another beer.
So I think Jonathan Taft Jones here says, so does the TO then auto remove that player because that is blatant cheating? Michael Bolton replied, good point. Judges' options need to be discussed. Jonathan Jones says again,
let's discuss it.
Chance without repercussions is saying cheating is acceptable, or do you find his next opponent and tell him what the guy does? Okay, yes, so I kind of Tom Layton. Wait, Dan got banned off Reddit.
So not off all Reddits. He just got banned off a certain subreddit.
Yeah.
He may have accidentally called out the actual admin by mistake, not known it was admin.
Dan being the fool that he is. Yeah. I mean, to go on.
Let's talk about TOs because we run our own events as well.
So to talk about TOs, I mean. Jonathan, I mean, as you can tell, I spoke to the player who was playing my opponent in second round, and I told them, he's done this against me, and I told him it was this way, and so was the TO, so watch out for it. And it happened again in that game. And I believe at the end of day one, that player was told not to return for day two. That player didn't come back for day two. I am right, aren't I there, bro?
Yeah, I also know in Battle for Birmingham there was some weighted dice, and it was actually confirmed weighted dice. That person was asked not to come back as well.
Yep. Things like that. So I think those kind of people should be told that.
It's how it's raised to the TO that's very important. If after a game you go and you give them a heads up, and there's still games to be played, there's chance for the judge to take action.
Yes.
He can interview players, he can ask the next opponent, he can speak to the player directly, but the referee needs to be made aware. The more you talk about it just in your own circles, the less helpful it is. Because that TO needs as much opportunity as he can before he takes action. Because it's kind of like a judge and jury, isn't it? It's like you need to make sure that this guy is guilty beyond doubt before you take action. Otherwise you could be punishing someone who's completely innocent.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
he
God.
could be
Oh God.
genuine mistakes.
Here we go. Cookie Smith. I believe this is Gaz Jones.
It is,
Gaz
yeah.
Jones of the Welsh team.
Yeah.
So Gaz Jones, captain of Wales, guys. Gaz Jones
Mm.
says, sadly, repeat offenders take too long for the community to weed out. I do agree with that. It does take too long. I mean, that's why we're having this video, right?
I think it's getting better, to be
let
fair.
each other know, guys. Let each other know. And on that point, I just want to say that. That's why we're having this video. Let each other know if you play somebody and it's a bad experience. I mean, some games, you can play somebody for the second time and it'll
Yeah.
be great. And you can be like, oh, okay, maybe the first time was just a one-off experience, a bad game. Yeah?
Yeah.
That does happen. But let each other know, I've had a bad game against this guy. Watch out for this and this. It's just a friendly reminder. You're not telling them to be uh, a, a bad guy to the
Yeah.
person they play. You're just giving them a friendly
Heads up.
nod. Yeah, a friendly heads up that
I've cottoned on.
for this
We know
guy.
what's up.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be nice in your game. If you think somebody is doing something like that, address it politely.
Yeah.
That's the main thing I would say. So Gaz Jones, so he says, sadly, repeat offenders take too long for the community to weed out. Agreed. And then oh no, says the one we all know about. I have refused to play for 6 years. Finally, the community is starting to shun this player, but it has taken a long time now. You need all TOs and players to pull the same way to eliminate this kind of repeated blatant cheating from the game.
I think it is something that is more often talked about now. I can
Yes.
definitely see where he's coming from, because it feels very recent that this progression has happened, like within the last year and a half, maybe,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's more of a talking point now, and TO should definitely not be afraid to take action, especially if someone has got a reputation. I think we should talk about reputations next, because this is something that's coming up. Hey, Cookie.
Hey, bro.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull something up actually as well, because this happened many moons ago. Actually, was it? It's not who I think it was. No, mind. Carry on. Sorry, Drew. Completely got off tangent. I was like, should I talk about something? It's not worth talking about. So let's move on.
Taff Jones says that was for the next event as the dice was confirmed day 2. Okay, fair enough. Maybe there should be a closed Facebook group of TOs to spread info to each other. That could actually be a thing.
That does
That could
exist.
actually be a thing. Yeah, that does exist.
That does exist.
But yeah, Bobby Halls says, Manny, that can also promote a hostile environment from the get-go for actually innocent people. Oh no, yeah, that's why I'm saying, mate. I'm saying that if you have an unpleasant game with somebody, that where you think that you have been cheated, just let your friends know, and when they play that player, they would have a heads up. And I'm not saying it's because that player's been cheating, because I've just said it could be that you play that player again, or one of your friends plays that player and they have a fantastic game, and you can rule your game to a one-off situation that normally doesn't happen with that player. I'm not saying that they're always cheating, which is why I'm saying be polite. Go into your game polite, or let your friends know what's happened in your game, but tell them to be polite. So if somebody's like I said before,
Give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes. So I told the player after me that this is the player that played me has done. This is what you should watch out for. And in the game, as I said, he didn't say, "Oh, what the hell, man? You've been told about this." He said, "Yeah, hey, I don't think it should be played that way. I think it should be played this way." I think that's the way to. I think that's the way to go about it. Go into the game, giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, and just being a nice guy. But I think you should respond politely. If you think somebody is wronging you, I think you should acknowledge it, but politely. That's always the way that I go. That's always the way I go about it to start with.
Yeah.
If somebody then repeatedly cheats or is repeatedly being unsporting with you, you have to be a bit more firm with them. I think that's very important. But I understand what you mean, mate. I understand what you mean. Obviously, you don't want to promote a hostile environment. That's not what I'm for either. I'm all about having fun with your opponent while you're playing the game with them. So the benefit of the doubt is a huge thing, and I think all players should be given it until you personally play them yourselves. But being given a friendly heads up is
Yeah.
I think is very nice too.
Yeah. Michael Bolton here as well. Let's have a look. But TOs don't act over simple things like unpainted models, even when it's clear in the rules pack. I have, and it does not go down very well when you remove the enemies from the table. That is down to TO's discretion. I don't think it's maybe appropriate for a player to bring up, because it's not your responsibility to make sure the enemy army's like painted. Like, if you want to say something to the referee, like to say like friendly, sure, but as long as you're not just saying it to gain an advantage in your game.
Yeah.
I think painting is a bit of a funny one, because there are players who just want to play the game.
Does not go down when you remove their minis from the table. No,
Yeah.
I agree with this. I kind of agree with this because the main thing I don't like is points penalties. Like players get a points penalty because they don't have their army painted. So in the Glasshammer rules pack, under the Glasshammer guidelines, we have a rule where your army needs to be 3 colours and based. So if your army is basically up to tabletop standard, 3 colours and based, if your army is up to that standard, those models are allowed on the table. You won't get any paints penalties, and we count that as at least you've given it a go. You've had a go at painting your army. That's fine. But if your army is not to that standard, if you have models that are not to that standard, you will not be allowed to play with those models. And we have specifically said that because we don't agree with giving people points penalties, which are going to put them out of the running. We specifically say it's on you now, because the painting standard we've set is not so high that it's unachievable. It's just 3 colours and based. So if you don't do this, you will not be allowed to play with those unpainted models.
And we even allow
the
base primer to count as a colour.
Yes.
Just for clarity. It could be sprayed black with some dots in his eyes, and you know what? There you go. Different coloured eyes, you're done.
It's just got to be that you've made some effort. But no, I totally agree with Michael, because some rules packs obviously don't say that. Some rules packs say your army must be painted to this standard, or you must remove your models from the board. But then that does not happen.
I think we just triggered Dan as well. Michael Bolton, back off. Green eyes count as a colour. Oh, nice. Oh, Lewis Fold.
Count as a colour. Brilliant. I love it.
Is it unsporting to call people a dick on social media because them preventing you from scoring incorrectly lost your top 3 spot? It depends how you go about it. If you straight up just say that on social media, yes, I think you are. I think if Lewis Folds underneath Cookie Smith, Cookie's written a fairly big one, so we'll come up to that one. But Lewis, the way that you address it is really important. I think it should be mentioned in the Facebook event that you were made aware of something happening. If it's a genuine mistake, and you go out and you go witch hunting, this could lead to some really bad, not karma, but like that guy is going to be persecuted almost.
Yeah, I can see why he said this.
Yeah, people will get behind whatever you say, because people like raising a good pitchfork, and be like, yeah, screw that guy, he's a cheat. In reality, it may not be so clear cut. If you know 100%, then maybe don't name and shame the player. Just say, this happened at a recent event. I would like to make the person know, because I'm aware that he does this, or is in this social group. Watch out for this thing, so other people are aware of what it may be, because it could be something really tricksy as well.
No, yeah, I think I know why Lewis Folds has said this, and I'm not sure if this is the case. However, I believe he may be a friend of Simon Edwards, who I played at GT Heat 1, and because he's just said, is it unsporting to call people a dick on social media? Because that's what I did, because that's why he was being, and I thought people deserve to know on social media, because he's just said here, preventing.
Remember that bit where we're saying we're not naming shaming?
Yeah, no, but this is the thing. I've done it already.
You've done it already.
I've said about him already.
Go hard, Manny. Go hard.
Yeah, because I just thought it was really bad and really unsporting, and it was his behaviour throughout the whole game that was unsporting. And other people have said to me that it is very weird the way he gets when he's winning. So it's not just me. There are people out there that think the same. And he's saying here, because preventing you from scoring incorrectly lost you a top 3 spot. So, he thinks that I was scoring incorrectly. However, I had dice for both me and him. and I was counting the points that we scored every turn. I was count. Dancer's getting money. Yeah, so
Yeah, he then just posted the name as well.
yeah, I think because it was yeah. So I was counting our score every turn. The points that I got went on the dice every turn. The points that my opponent got went on the dice every turn. And there were turns where my opponent was in the lead because I was counting correctly. It's not just all about winning. We're there to win, but you've got to do it because you've played better.
Exactly.
So I was counting the score the whole time, and he killed my warlord at one point. So I added the warlord kill because we made a big thing of it. We're like, oh, okay, it's killed your warlord, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't have the CPs to make the other guy my warlord, so you know that's warlord.
It is.
So we made a big statement of it as it came up in the game. So I turned the dice over, and at the end of the game, because we're drawing, because we're drawing, he's like, oh, you haven't added my warlord kill on. And that, you know, that's not the thing. So obviously this guy's saying it's because I did it because it prevented me from having a top 3 spot. No, that's not why. Because I would have had to play one of the top players there who absolutely smashed Simon Edwards in the next game. By the way, guys, you know, so he didn't get anywhere by doing this. Yeah. So.
So he thought you were submarining.
Yeah. He thought I was submarining. No, I wasn't submarining. That wasn't the 5th game. That was the 4th game. And then the 5th game, I would have played the player who absolutely owned Simon Edwards. Well done to him, by the way.
How many times are you going to say this guy's name?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah. So Simon Edwards, blah, 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 Simon Edwards, Simon Edwards.
No, but that's the thing. So it wasn't because it prevented me from winning. It was because he was trying to win with a point that I'd already given him. That was the thing. So we were drawing, and he was like, no. You haven't added my warlord kill. You haven't added my warlord kill. And then he was like, I'm going to add my warlord kill. So I win by a point because of the warlord kill. You know, that's the warlord kill. And I was like, bro, I've already added the warlord kill. And then, but, if you recall, anybody who was watching the scoring happen at the end of that game, I couldn't be bothered at the end of it. And I was like, you know what, mate? That's fine. Have your warlord kill. You win by a point. It was only until the both of us realised that one of my Bullgrin was still alive in his deployment zone that I was like, oh, actually, mate, look, I've got Linebreaker, so it's a draw now. And then that's why I said to him, I said, mate, you've been this unsporting throughout the whole game just for a draw. Just for a draw. And I think he was doing it because we were actually
Move on. Keep talking.
But I think he's right there actually, because it was Simon Pridis who played Simon Edwards in the final round, and he with his tower, and he won. So Dan's saying, yeah, Pridis would have absolutely smashed you anyway if you played him, which could have been the case. Pridis could have absolutely smashed me, and I was fully aware of that. So it was not because he's cost me a podium place. It was because I don't agree with people trying to win in an unfair manner. And that's what it was, you know. It was a point. I think he was doing it because he thought if he gets this point, he wins by a point. And we both thought that. And that's why I was like, mate, this is really unfair. I've added the warlord kill. And this is what got me, He made no attempt throughout the whole game to keep score, to keep count of the score. He was
relying on you.
Yes, exactly. So I was keeping on score the whole game. And every time he scored a point, he told me, oh, I've scored a point for this. So I added that point on. He told me every time he scored a point. And then at the end of the game, he tried to say that, oh, you didn't add my warlord point. And I was like, well, obviously, you must have told me about it, like you have with every single other point you've scored. So I've added it on. With you watching me turn the dice every time you score points. And so I just didn't agree with that whole, with what happened there. I mean, at the end of it, I mean, I drew anyway and I think that's when actually he calmed down a bit, because I think he was doing it all to try and get the win, and then all of a sudden I was like, mate, you can have it. That's fine. And then all of a sudden we realised that I've got Linebreaker, and I was like, mate, I've got Linebreaker, so it's actually a draw. And it was at that point that his face kind of dropped, because I think it dawned on him, why have I done this? In the end, it's just a draw. It was for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you should have just been a lot more calm throughout that game. And that warlord thing was not the only thing in that game. That's just what I'm saying towards the end. And I think I'm being very nice by only mentioning that point in the game, because there were some very unsporting things that happened earlier on in the game where my opponent forgot a couple of things and I let them have all of them. And then me, it wasn't even forgetting something. It was just, the way that some of the rules were being played, even though we hadn't discussed them at the start of the game. And I was like, this is totally, totally unfair the way that you're being. So, but I'm glad that I gave my opponent every chance there. They gave me absolutely nothing, tried to be very unsporting, and I still walked out there with a draw. So I'm very proud of myself. And I'm glad that I aired it to him, because this is what we were saying. I know Lewis Folds has made his point, but I think this was very important, because you know how we said we should address the issue. We shouldn't go and, if I came away from that game and then went live and I was talking about it in a very bad way without having said anything at the time, I think that's totally wrong. But I think I can do it because
you said something at the time.
At the time. That I think that's very important. So the same comments that I made on social media, guys, I made to the guy's face, because he needed to know how he was making his opponents feel.
And how unhappy you were with his behaviour.
Exactly. And you know what? It's very funny that this should be mentioned, because I got four most sporting votes at that event, guys. And I'm pretty sure he was the only one that didn't vote for me. So all of my other 4 players had a very smashing game against me and voted me their favourite game. So I know I'm not the issue.
That's because you're a nice guy, man. You're a nice
exactly.
Guy.
So, there we go. Just to clarify on that. I know that was somebody having a dig at me, but there we go. That's exactly why,
I don't think he was saying it to have a dig. I think he just thought it was funny.
Yeah, maybe.
To be fair, it is a little bit funny.
I just wanted to clarify,
Yeah.
So there we go. So that one's out of the way. But yeah, guys, unsporting behaviour like that, watch out for it. But yeah, Ad, anything else, mate? Have you? What's the most unsporting thing that you've seen or has been happened to you? Oh, here we go. Lewis Falls, what's he say? Fair enough.
The most
I don't even know the guy. Just heard about it on the grapevine. No, mate, don't worry. I'm not.
See, I knew he thought it was funny. Yeah, I knew he thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's it. And Lewis, mate, I am not having a go at you by any means. I thought, yes, that's something. Obviously, of course, that's something that maybe you've been told or picked up on. So I thought, I should clarify myself why I did it, and that's the story behind it, mate. I think. You've picked up on something, and for all you know, I could be in the wrong. So I just thought, I'd explain myself why I did it. But yeah, not having a dig at you, mate. Obviously, thanks for watching. Another viewer, so not having a dig by any means. But yeah, so go on, Ad. What's one of the most unsporting things that's happened to you or that you've seen happen?
Unfortunately, I was on a team with someone. Way back when, it's during the 7th edition. I can say his name. He's not been around forever, and he's not come back into the scene. His name was Marcus. He was a pretty big liar, but I didn't know him. So he was known quite well in the north, but in the south, I was like, who the hell are you? And he came up to me as a representative as Team England, and I knew that he was associated with Team England. So I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, I'll play for Team England South, whatever.
Oh my
yeah,
God,
what's great.
Dan? Look at Dan. He's just having a
5-minute clarification.
5-minute clarification, but he's definitely over it.
He's not over it, yeah.
No, I'm never over it. I'm never over somebody who's unsporting. Never, ever.
It's hard not to be, isn't it? Sometimes you go in with that prejudice. But anyway, yes. So this guy's his name was Marcus. He invited me to a team tournament to be part of Team England South. I was like, yeah, I'm totally down for that. It happened at Bristol Independent Gaming, and I didn't know that he was also the TO checking lists. And none of our team checked his list, and his list was massively wrong. He got called up on it by us on a couple of days before, and like, mate, you submitted your list. It's wrong. Team. Yeah, he got told it was wrong round 1, and then he misplayed again round 4, and he knew what he was doing at this point. And he knew what he was doing round 1 as well, because we told him in chat he can't do it. So it was straight up just cheating, and it left a very sour taste in my mouth, because we won that tournament. I have a trophy. It is above me right now, and you know what? I'm proud of how I played, because in that tourney I scored 120 points out of 120 points.
Slandered
I was
trophy.
thrilled.
That's a
Yeah.
tainted trophy ad.
It is, because I can't trust any of the results that came out of my one of my team members. Because I played with two other people, and you know what? Tom Layton's one of them, and Jason Burns the other, and they are both really good sports,
Yes,
really good
really
players,
sports,
and
yes.
I love them both. But that last person has tainted what was meant to be a great weekend, because I found out that he did it again. But I only found out after the tournament and things. So that is definitely my worst personal experience. How about yourself?
Well, oh, hold on.
Fishy.
Jones, do you guys want some PG stories about unsporting? Go on, guys.
But no names. No
Let's see. Yeah,
names,
no
though. Yeah.
names, no
No
names.
names.
But yeah, let's hear about an unsporting thing that's happened to you, bro. Yeah. Meanwhile, that thing at Warhammer Heat 1, I think that was very unsporting. It's
Yeah.
probably it's one of the most unsporting things that's happened to me, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing, another thing would have to be a slow playing issue. There was a slow playing issue in one of my games or one of my tournaments. Not mentioning any specific games, not mentioning any names, but at one of my games in a tournament, my
7th,
opponent
8th?
in 8th edition,
Yeah.
one of my opponents going into turn 3. We'd only just finished turn 3. That's what it was, guys. We had only just finished turn 3, and there were 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I believe. There were 15 minutes left on the clock at the end of our turn 3, and it could have been over turn 4. 15 minutes left, guys. 15 minutes left, and my opponent had less than 20 infantry models left on the table. Less than 20 infantry models left on the table. And I had a pox star. So I had
A lot.
like 80 to 100 zombies plus characters left. And I said to my opponent, I was like, look, most of your games haven't got past turn 3 or 4. So I would like to get this last turn out of the game. And he was just like, I don't really want to be rushed. So I said, that's fine. I was like, you've got 20 infantry models maximum on the board. You can have 14 minutes, and I'll have 1 minute with my 100 models. You know? I said, you can have 14, because he went first. So I was like, you can have 14 minutes, and I'll have 1 minute. And at this point, my opponent was like, I just don't want to be rushed because I don't think we can get that in. So I was like, okay, no problem. I didn't know what to say at this point, because up until this point, I hadn't had many, many bad things like that. So
It's weird how you kind of become adaptive to it, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do at this point, but other people standing around thought it was a very unsporting thing to do. So other people that were standing around watching our game went over and called the TO of the event, and then the TO came over and said, because this is the game before the final one, we're going to let it go to natural end because lunch is next. At which point my opponent just shook my hand straight away and said, well, of course you win then. So, at that point, my opponent was, I don't know why as well, it would have knocked us both out of the running for the event if he would have ended the game there. So I don't know why you would do that. I think if you've had but the thing is, the game up until that point was fine. It was a good game.
Yeah.
It was going well for both players. It was enjoyable. So I think just to end it like that was just a bit unsporting to my opinion. But it did end well at the end of it because the TO stepped in and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was that, and that's what I think. Gaz is taking a while here. He's not posting anything, so
It's gonna be something
writing an
long,
essay.
isn't it? Yeah.
He's writing.
I'm scared, man.
What is Dan doing? Dan, you really annoy me now.
God damn it, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, trying to hide names inside cryptic stuff.
Yeah. God. What is he doing?
Oh, dude, he's made it so I can't hide his posts.
Oh, really?
I can't hide that one.
Okay, because I've got a button here now, Dan, because I've just hit your comment and it says visible to the person who wrote it and their friends. and I have another button here which says ban Dan Bates, and I will click it. So stop it.
That or he's taking away my admin powers, something like that.
I feel like
Well,
he's about to do the same to me because I'm sitting here saying that. Should I
yeah.
just ban Dan Bates before he takes it away?
Or guys, verdict. Hit like if he's
Hit
posted.
like now if you want Dan to be banned.
Right, it's posted. GT final game against a Spanish chap. Oh, okay. Back in the 5th ed, I think,
Oh,
it's
back
the
in
old
5th ed.
Alpha, Beta, Gamma mission. So, Alpha mission, claim most objectives. Someone's liked, by the way. Win the game.
I bet it was Dan himself. I bet he
Yeah.
liked it because he wants himself to get banned.
Yeah, so Alpha mission, claim most objectives, win the game. I play this guy, smash him on the table. He's killed 3 jet bites. I kill pretty much his whole army. I'm sat on 1 objective, and he has a rhino left with 5 marines in it too far away for an objective to contest. So I now have 1. He then moves his rhino, gets his marines out, and proceeds to move onto them into an objective 6 inches away. I'm like, mate, you can't move out of a moved vehicle. He argues and says you can. Sure, I go, okay, I'll go find a rulebook. Come back 2 minutes later, and he's gone, and his models are packed up. I go to the head ref table to see if they know what's happened. Turns out he had handed in the scorecard and claimed victory.
Oh,
whoa,
what?
that's big.
No.
So that's big. I booted off GW staff, said results were final, ended up having us chatting with the ref, and the guy just kept shrugging his shoulders saying he won. Needless to say, he was booed all the way to the podium. I can't even believe that he got onto the podium. Did he admit it?
No. Oh my god, that's insane.
That's the question. Like, did the guy admit it whilst he was with the staff? Was like,
No, look, he's just ended up having us chatting with the ref and the guy, but just kept shrugging his shoulders, saying that he won.
saying that he won. Yeah,
No way. That's insane.
that's the next level stuff,
This is what I'm
man.
saying, man. The lengths that people go to win at this game is insane. I don't get it.
Is this the same? Oh no, it's an Italian player that's doing that at the minute, isn't it?
This is. He won the event. Yes, he won the event.
You won the event. That's absolutely shocking.
Oh my god, this is brilliant. My
Mate, as soon as that ref knew what he had done, he should have done something.
Wow. Talk about unsporting. Wow, it's a bit mental. I think I would be all against that. He denied doing anything wrong. Just said he'd won. Yeah, see, that's so bad.
Yeah, because at that point he's just digging in his heels as well, and like the ref can't see the board state, but the ref, yeah, last time he went to GW.
But that's weird. I mean, he just took his
point blank
and walked
refused,
off.
yeah. But that's because he knew he had lost. Like, as soon as he comes back with a rule book, he's like, "Yeah, I've lost, haven't I?" Yeah.
Wow, that's.
They won me and him for the win. Ah, so he even did it in the last game.
That was table 1. You versus him for the win. That's mental. That's mental. Yeah. But then, how did they not have judges over at that table? Do you know what I mean? I mean, so right now they stream the top table.
I think it's worth talking about GW and they will run it because they don't really have a TO as such. Like, they have people that are there to help clarify the rules.
Yes.
But I don't think they have someone there who will outright say, no, you can't play. Because they see it very commercialized, don't they? It's very much that you've bought a ticket to an event, and they don't want to ruin anyone's event or like experience.
Yeah, but if somebody's cheating and ruining other people's experience,
I think the max they would get is a clip round the ear.
Yeah, but I think that's terrible.
Yeah,
man.
But that's because they're a business, and I don't think they are brave enough to turn people away.
Look at this. Gaz said, I just stood there aghast, couldn't believe it. I can actually imagine Gaz standing there with his mouth open like...
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it in my head, yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Ad, but I think if somebody, you know... I think if somebody is paid to be at the event, fair enough. They have paid to come and play 5 games, 5 good games against 5 good opponents, and maybe win. Maybe win something, like, get on the podium. That's what they're there for. But if they're cheating and ruining other people's experience there, who have also bought a ticket, at that point something needs to be done, in my opinion.
No, I don't disagree with that. I can agree with that, hands down. Yeah, it's not right, and yeah, but we also need to give people the opportunity to like turn it around as well, or prove themselves innocent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
Yeah, that's it. I think everybody deserves a chance. I mean, that's
yeah.
why the whole benefit of the doubt I was saying, and the whole playing politely, I think is huge.
It's massive.
You
Yeah.
have to play politely against whoever you play, even if somebody does something bad. You've got to be.
Because it's very easy in the heat of the moment to call someone a cheat and not mean it, and you may not even see that person again. But you know what?
Yeah.
They've walked away with a bad experience because you've accused them of something, and it was a genuine mistake. You know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. If somebody's made a genuine mistake, that's
Yeah.
fine. I think that's fine. I think it's just when people
Or a
know.
misunderstanding.
Yeah, I just think it's when people blatantly know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's annoying. It's very, very annoying.
Yeah,
But yeah, guys,
I've even been called a cheat by someone in this room, like who's watching right now, and I could bet money he doesn't even remember. But since then, like, yeah, since then, like nothing, and I'm actually friends with the person as well. Like, I don't even think he remembers playing me. So it can go to show that you can say something in the heat, not mean it, and walk away, and you can forget about things as well. You know, go back next game, because I've played that person since as well, and it didn't even come up. He couldn't even remember. I was like, what? I held on to this. I felt so bad for ages, and then you don't even remember me. But yeah.
No, you made me feel bad for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, yeah, guys, I think it's very important. So, if you're playing somebody who you think is being unsporting, have a polite word with them. Have a polite word with them. You know, mate, I'm not. You know, just something like, mate, I'm not interested in the kind of game where we're going to fall out with each other. Let's not do that. Just something like that. So just something like that can spark somebody to go, actually, you know what? Guy I'm playing's decent. He's giving me a chance here. Do you know what I mean? Just things like that. I think I'm a huge believer that you can do things like that. Dan, he just said, I remember ad. Screw you, bro.
I've already responded to that. Okay,
Oh,
two people.
I think that's brilliant.
Alright, man.
But no, yeah, guys, I think we've talked massively about, you know, handling unsporting behaviour there. We've covered a lot of issues, how you should handle it. Being polite, guys. That's the one thing I will just say before we go.
Kill them with
Always
sweetness.
be polite.
Kill them with kindness. That's the
it.
term, isn't it?
Always be polite. Just if you need to talk to somebody, do it in a polite manner. Give them 2 chances, 3 chances. But then, of course, after that, be firm. After that, you have to be firm.
Yeah.
I think if you've given someone 2 to 3 chances and they're not changing, that's when you be firm.
Yeah.
But always start off by being polite. Thank you very much, Ad, for coming on.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks a lot for having me.
And we've had such a laugh. I mean,
I miss you guys.
This video has been one of our best. There's so many people have commented. Thank you.
Wait! There's another story.
Oh my God.
There's another story.
Here we go.
We've got to read it. It's too good. It's too juicy. After this, we will wrap up. Right, we'll get through this fast. German chat forgot about the Incarn Unari stuff back at the start of 8th Ed. So that's where he comes on when you kill stuff. He comes on in the first unit that you kill. If you don't kill anything by turn 3, obviously he's dead. Kill some Razor Flocks next to him. Incarn declares charge on his on his Storm Raven. Guy shouts the loudest F word I've ever heard and screams into one of my teammates' faces. What? I just wait for him to finish and give him the best teacher dress down. Dude, you just do that to the reaction to a game designed for 12-year-olds. Guy looked ashamed. What made it even funnier was he killed Incarn on Overwatch. So that would be right at the start when Ravens were good and you could have like 5 or 6, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, you've got some of the greatest stories. That's mental.
That's nuts.
That's mental.
I can't say I've ever had someone just cuss in my face.
No, I've never had anyone just.
Right, if someone does that, your reaction to it, all right, is just walk away from the table. Don't hold on to that, man. It's not worth it. Go get a TO and just explain what's going on.
That's absolutely mental.
Yeah. I can't believe that, man.
Wow, amazing story, guys. Amazing story. And on that note, guys,
now
thanks very much, Ad, for coming on again. It's been awesome, and I'm gonna have you on very soon, of course, again, because we always have a great time.
Yeah, man.
Dan will not be seen for a very long time, guys.
Banned.
With
Banned.
Astrid and his behaviour. And no, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Handling unsporting behaviour. Open the vaults. Join me again on the Elite page if you like these kind of chats. Subscribe to the Elite and join me on Monday for Monday Night Mashup, where we'll be talking about some very interesting things. No spoilers, no spoilers. Yeah, but yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. See you later.
See you later. Peace.